Fantastic. Awesome. So welcome to the Your Desired Success Foundation Mastermind, all built around relationships and helping everybody come together to elevate our own vibration, achieve that level of freedom. And it's also, oh, crikey, my mouse. It's also built on the power of the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you, inspired by the noble Goldman community. So when we talk around the power of a mastermind, Napoleon Hill, who wrote the incredible book of success, which is well known around the world, Think and Grow Rich, as well as many other incredible books, he said about the principle of a mastermind, and he said it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it if in a lifetime, if you depended entirely on your own efforts for success. So extremely powerful way to start looking at the principles that we've got there. So we've got our numbers. So as we go through these principles together, Maya will be number 1. Corey, are you able to talk? Oh, we can't hear you, buddy, even though you were muted. So Maya's number 1, Carolyn number 2, myself number 3, and Corey number 4 that you came through. Also,
can you hear me?
Yep, we got you, buddy.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. It's a good time in there. I'll let you go first, Maya. Just make sure we're all unmuted, guys. Can you unmute, Maya?
Unmute. I'm sorry. I turned my car on, so I weren't connecting, and I couldn't hear. Okay, I'm here. Sorry about that. The purpose of the mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other in the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for setting that foundation as a group. As we're on this call together. So I want to just say thanks to Noble Goldman, because Mark Santos, the founder of Noble Goldman, really helped all this come to light, and the relationships that I've built, the growth that I've personally had, the lives that we've been able to have a positive impact on, has been a blessing. So it really has been inspired here through Mark. Now what I'm going to do is just give you a run through the mission statement so you can understand the power of it. Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators. Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms. The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time. So there we have set the foundation, and I know the power of what all that brings and the connections that we have and those people choosing to come and be here, which you four have chose to do as well. So today's topic is going to be around the power of a decision. Now, there's going to be, I'm confident to say, quite a lot of in-depth communication around this, from simply from the angle of I know that there's been moments in it, all of our lives that have had significant impact, had a significant impact on us, which has led us into another direction. I'm just going to mute you a moment there, Corey, just because there's a lot of feedback, but you can jump on when you're going to talk. So I'd like to start with us blasting out of the gates. So we're not going to hold back here. And as we said with the foundation, just choose to share openly. There's no judgment here. But I'd love to know, was there a moment in your life in particular that you knew you had to take a decision that would actually change the course of your life? Was there a time in your life that you had to make a decision that you knew was going to change the whole course of your life? And if anybody's willing to open up and share, who wants to start, feel free.
Yeah, I'll start. I may get a phone call because my brand new car is broken down. But anyway, we'll go with this and see how it rolls. So for me, I had an experience, which I'm not going to go into, but it was basically, it was a traumatic experience. And I guess in that moment, I had to make a decision whether I went back to the career path that I was in or whether I took time off to totally change my career path. So leaving a $250,000 job a year to having no income was a decision I basically had to make. So yeah, I guess that's been the most significant moment in my life, which happened kind of 5 or 6 years ago. And that's had I guess Martin knows a fair bit about my story, but that's kind of really changed the direction of my life, being able to give up that money. So why the story's relevant is because I'd been talking about becoming a coach. I'd been talking about going back to personal training, yet my ego was not able to let go of the money. So therefore I just stayed in a job that didn't fulfill me in all aspects. Some aspects of it fulfilled me. Coaching and mentoring and teaching my team was super valuable to me, but I wanted to go into that more fully, but I wasn't willing to let go of the money. And then I had a fear of, would I be able to make that money doing something that I love and fulfills me and sustains my family, I guess. So that was, I guess that's been the biggest decision that I've ever made in my life, is what I viewed to be a sacrifice of giving up, pretty much stripping back all the ego attached to all the money was a massive decision that I made in my life, I guess.
Yeah,
So
awesome share, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, so, and Corey, it's funny. It's not funny that you say that, but it's just like, the universe, because that is what I was going to talk about as well. Here recently, I made that decision to, really risk everything that I had, as far as like stability and security, to pursue a dream that I'm, pursuing. And it has been a very blessing experience, but it was a huge decision, and the course of my life has been changed, forever, because it's a lot different now. But I'm super grateful for it. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
yeah, that's great. What are you doing now, Maya?
I'm a life coach now.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many life coaches in particular are coming into my vicinity based on where I'm at as well right now. And it's just so awesome to be around. It's awesome to be around everybody, to be fair, because we're always constantly learning. But it's amazing how many people in particular are coming in, those life coaches, especially from the angle of being open to learning from others and not coming in to just say, this is the way it is, and this is the only way that I see it, and that's the truth. I know one of the other guys in the community, Russ, who's been coaching for over 30 years, he comes in with just an open mind, and he's like, I learned so much from you guys, new perspectives, new ways to communicate with my own clients and the people I meet, and it allows me to have deeper conversations. And this is what I love about being here right now with each of you and everybody else that's going to maybe watch this or jump on in the future, and those connections that are coming. And I know with regards to the question that I asked, there's so many times where where things have really shifted for me personally, and one of the movies that really helped me understand it was called The Shift by Wayne Dyer. Incredible movie, and he was talked about a quantum moment, and it was I never looked at it that way. I never really understood the quantum moment. But it made sense when he explained his quantum moment, and it made me then reflect on maybe even unconscious times when there was a decision made. And I mean, I always knew from a young age that I was different. I didn't know how, but I just knew that I didn't fit in. And especially when I say fit in, I didn't fit in with just going through life and getting to retirement, and there was just like, this can't be just all that there is. There must be something else. I know everyone that I looked around and family, and it's not a level of judgment toward them. It's just more from an angle of, is this where I'm going with my life? Where do I want it to go? How do I change it? And the most significant moment, which a lot of you will know about, it was the moment where I almost took my life. And in that, what came of that was, I didn't know it obviously at the time when I was going through all that pain, but what came of it was that decision to not take my life then gave me such, the way that I explain it is, you see it in the cartoons, it's usually like Tom and Jerry or something like that, where they've got the big palm trees and like the elastic band, the bungee cord, and then he just pings him off. Well, that's what it was like. It was as if I was just being pulled and pulled and pulled back, but at the same time, it was being ready to be released, and with such incredible force. And that decision to not take my life allowed me to then harness that pain and that frustration and that anger, and harness it from a place of controlling it, but controlling it into utilizing that energy to drive me in the direction that I wanted to go, which was to impact lives around the world, but on a even bigger scale. So that decision in itself changed the course of my life to a point where I started cracking open and speaking more, especially about that pain, but speaking more around different things in life. And that opened up to different people coming into my life, as I mentioned earlier on, about more life coaches coming in, more spiritual mentors and teachers, which then cracked me open again, and therefore helped me learn and grow and work through stuff. And I know each of us are all on this call know all about that. And I know in particular that, Corey, you dive extremely deeply. What I would class as extremely deeply, because it's a lot deeper than where I'm going, and I think where I'm going sometimes is deep enough, and you're just taking it to the next level. And we often get to that point and go, really, is there another level to this? I think I'm at my point here. But it's that continued, those new people that come in, and it's then the challenges and that shifting and peeling the layers, and that's, I'm just so grateful that I chose to go. Well, I went through all that process, and I chose to then act upon the energy and the pain and what I learned, which has helped me be here today and be confident to facilitate something like a mastermind, and be confident to step on stage and speak, and be confident to be around people and share who I am, and without any attachment to what people think of me. It's all like, hey, this is me. That's it. You're getting the most authentic version of me in this moment, irrelevant of what you perceive or what you assume or judge of me. This is me right now. So that's what I've got from my decision.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I've been listening to a bit of Bob Dyer, and I've really changed. Actually, do you know, making the decision to join this was a quantum point for me, right? In so many ways, I was kind of cruising along, listening to my podcast, thinking that Tim Ferriss was educating me in the way of the world. But I was kind of like, I was in cruise mode, you know, like I was kind of just plodding along, had heaps of free time. I'm still working hard, doing things that I enjoy, but yeah. I got muted there in the middle somehow. Anyway, I was cruising, right? And then the car crash was a quantum shift as well, right? Like I rolled my car 5 weeks ago, and in 5 weeks, the growth has been exponential because I had this story in my mind about how I was connecting with my wife, about how we were disconnected. And then when I started saying things to her, she's like, you haven't even said that to me. So the story that we create in our mind becomes a reality of our life, right? So in my head, I'd had this conversation with my wife, but she was so angry when I actually had the conversation because I was quite defensive. It's opened up the opportunity to, I come into these spaces and I'm really open and honest, and I bring things back to myself. And when I was talking to my wife, we had a conversation around, like, she's like, she said to me, you always say you. So when she doesn't agree with me, I get into blame state. So then I've had to, like, you talk about me deep diving. Like, I sent you a message and said I'm out for a few weeks because I need to deep dive, but I've gone so deep in the last 5 days that I'm kind of shifted through it and I'm back. But she was able to say to me, like, when you don't agree with me, you blame. You say you. You never ever, like, instead of saying, like, I listen to you speak, like you do your videos, and when you speak, you say, come back to the I, like, I feel. She goes, like, why can't you do that with me? So, and part of it is I've been creating this story of, like, my wife's not on this journey, we're disconnected. Is she ever going to really support me? Is she ever going to really show up? But the truth is, that's the story that I created. So how could she possibly show up, right? So I guess what I'm starting to learn from Joe Dispenza particularly is that the thought and the feeling, our mind needs to create that, not the other way around. The feeling and the thought, the feeling shouldn't create the thought should create the feeling, which has just been a massive, I've been able to shift things from being in a real deep, dark hole in the last week to, like, shift back to being able to show up, be conscious, present, but also to be able to shift layers of conversation with my wife, like going into this depth with her and talking about her rigidity and around her sarcasm and how that makes me feel, rather than being blaming and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess that's, I don't know, we're talking about communication, which is kind of funny, right? Because I've been working with coaches to learn how to communicate with my wife better, but the truth is I just needed to really learn how to communicate with myself better, how to connect in with myself, to really understand my own story and have faith in my own ability to be who I want to be, and then share that with my wife in a way that doesn't feel dangerous and unsafe. And I'm only kind of getting to that state now, which is kind of crazy, really, considering.
Well, we're really connected. The universe is really connecting us today. Just because the how you talked about it reminded me of my relationship and how I always kind of have a story in my head of how the relationship is, like the reality, but it's what I've made up. So I appreciate you sharing that as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
powerful, bro.
I'd like to think there's an end to the layers, but I'm not sure there is. Which is frustrating at times.
And what about yourself, Carolyn? And we got Tony back. Awesome. Good on you, Tony.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
On my phone.
Good.
Yeah, for me, probably the biggest decision in the last 5 years was quitting my job, experiencing a huge amount of bullying in that position. I loved it. It was very diverse. I got to work with students. I got to work around food, which was my passion. I got to do, lots and lots of different things, which was really great. It was close to home. It was great hours. And I stayed in that position much longer than I ever should have, to the point of just being so exhausted I couldn't even get off the couch. And it was close to the end of that time I went away to a retreat in Busselton, and it was all around health and about making decisions, exactly what we're talking about here. And towards the end of the week, one of the facilitators there challenged me to get up and share my story, because I made a decision that week that I was going to go back the following Monday and put my resignation in. And I was like, oh, I don't normally like to get up the front and talk. And she said, no, I want you to. So I did. I got up and I shared how that week had turned my life around and how I was heading in a different direction. And so that Monday I went back and I put my resignation in, and being the generous person that I am, I only had to give a week's notice, but I thought, oh no, I'll be kind and I'll give them a month's notice so they can, get the right person and all of that sort of stuff. And what really surprised me was when I actually told this woman that I was leaving, the bullying ramped up. How dare you leave me in this place? It's just a rah, rah, rah. Yeah. And I was just sat there with a smile on my face. And it was the best actually 4 weeks of my life at that job, because I knew I was leaving, but I knew I was going to something better. And it was amazing. And that made that person so much more angry because I was so happy. And it was a really interesting time, because I should have, when you look back, there was a point, and I was just staying there because it was easy, it was comfortable. And I kept hoping that she would leave. And I remember Frank actually saying to me, we'll just wait for her to leave. And I'm like, she's going to die in that place, because her life was about living in the same house for 35 years, never done anything but that job. And she will die there. And I needed to move on. And it's what I needed, because I knew that I had to go and start my journey towards my raw food and then my online business. So it was a huge big kick up the backside that I needed to change my life. So yeah, that was a big shift for me, and the best one, and never look back. And would never go back to the 9 to 5 again.
Yeah, awesome, Carolyn. And I can totally relate with when you were saying about waiting for her to leave. And in a way, it's kind of like putting our own power into somebody else's hands without even realizing it at the time until we reflect on it. So I've been there, and I certainly can resonate with what you said there. I'd love to hear from Tony, because I've known Tony now for approximately 5 years, I think. And this man's had quite a few businesses and very much the entrepreneur mind, as well as a life coach and business coach. So I'm sure there's been a significant moment in your life, Tony, and many, where you've had to make a decision and it's changed the course. So I'd love for you to share a bit more there, brother.
Yeah, I must apologise for all my technical issues to start off with. So I missed all your intro, and I came in sort of halfway through the previous gentleman's story. I didn't catch his name even. I'm sorry. I definitely relate to what Carolyn was saying. Depends how far back you want to go. I'm a bit older than most of you guys, so I've had quite a few of those moments. I think probably one of the biggest ones was going through leaving my backpackers hostel that I had a business for 14 years, which was an all-consuming 24/7 lifestyle. And I knew towards the end that it was time to get out, but then the global financial crisis made certain that I did. And just in case I was in that sort of a rut or a comfort zone where I was, I knew it wasn't right, but I needed the courage to go and do something completely different. And if I had any doubts, I got the final warning from the universe was that hailstone storm, if you remember back a few years back. It was 2010. Well, the hailstones came through the roof and we had a flood everywhere. And that was like, okay, I've got it. I've got the message. Time to move on. But I had another one after that where I had a cleaning business. Well, I still have the same cleaning business, but we had the contract for looking after the property that I was living in. And I was the chairman of the council of owners, but we had a new guy come onto the council and wanted to change all the contracts, including the cleaning. And he was quite a nasty piece of work. And I knew, again, that I was sort of hoping that he was going to leave. So I definitely relate to what Carolyn was saying there. And of course he didn't. So eventually I ended up losing that contract. And I knew, well, again, that's a sign from the universe that it's time to get out of this comfort zone and go on to the next thing. And moving to the Perth Hills 4 years ago was the best thing that I've done in a long time. So yeah, I actually started reading the book that you were talking about, Outwitting the Devil. We read the first couple of chapters last night at silly o'clock, and definitely relate to the example of when you think everything's falling in around you, you're at your lowest point. That's when you discover the other you, if you go looking, of course, and you find that inner resilience to turn things around and go in a whole new direction. And sometimes it's a scary place because you think you're not going to find those answers, but you just dig deep and they come to you. And I'm sure that's something similar to what you must have experienced, Martin, with your story.
Yeah, great shares there, Tony. And I love that you brought that up actually around when we always find the next part of us, something that's far deeper. And it's amazing how many. I was listening to chapter 6, and we're reviewing chapter 6 on the next call, and just going through that where the devil's talking around stuff about how that level of control, and it's just self-control. It's that the way we limit our own ability is just incredible, and knowing that we do. I'm not sure who said it earlier on. It might have been Corey. Mentioned around, sorry if I'm keeping you up, Corey.
Sorry,
mentioned,
mate.
mentioned around, you've actually thrown me off now with that.
It'll come back to you.
It will come back to me, but just working through through stuff as well. So, and yeah, Tony, it was, I think sometimes when we're so deep in things, we don't see it. It's the saying of you can't see wood for trees. And hindsight is a wonderful thing, but taking that time to stop and reflect and go within, the answers are often there, and the ability to reach out to somebody and have a conversation, even if it's somebody we don't even know, but we know they're in a space or a place of listening, or that they've gone through a similar situation. Then I always feel that helps.
I always find as well, Martin, that nature is a great helper. Whenever I'm in that kind of frame of mind where I'm thinking I really don't have the answer, I don't know what I want to do next. And I noticed it in the book actually last night that when Napoleon Hill was struggling, that he said a few times that he went for a walk, and going for a walk in nature, or just changing your state, going into a different situation. But particularly if you're surrounded by tranquility, water, trees, birds tweeting, all that kind of thing, it just somehow seems to reconnect you with that higher consciousness, and then you just allow the answers to come into your mind, and suddenly you've got solutions that just weren't there before.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you spend quite a bit of time in nature, Corey, don't you? Because you've just been in nature with the kids and stuff.
We're actually in a school, but in this particular situation, we're in the high school. But what we did was we just went and sat in the grass basically for the whole day underneath trees, rather than being in the classroom. But it was interesting, right? Because we were kind of losing them out in nature. So we dropped back into the classroom, and normally we'd separate the boys and the girls to do child and adult behaviors, because the boys act like children and the girls act like adults when the boys and girls are together, typically. But what we found is that when we changed their state from being outside to being inside to a familiar space, we were able to really shift them down into it. So we kind of prep them for, I can't even think of anyway, the word will come to me. We shifted them into a luminary state, right? So outside with games and activities and fun, and then we took them back inside. So we engaged all this connection, but we had to take them from outside to inside. But that was about letting go of control, right? The school teacher said to us, hey, we're losing them after recess. Let's go into the classroom. And because we followed her as a guide, we were able to really drop in with those kids. Like, we're able to really have them talk about their heroes. So we're doing a heroes talk around who are your heroes in your life. And it was funny because in my head, I want to bring it back to like celebrities sometimes. Like, we kind of talk about Michael Jordan a fair bit. I like to talk about his wins and his losses and his resilience, et cetera, et cetera. But this particular group of kids were family orientated. They kept bringing it back to the family. And it was really interesting to kind of observe that, because some kids, when we dove a bit later with the boys later on, we found out that some kids are in situations where their parents are getting divorced, and that was quite uncomfortable for them. So, yeah, but I spend a lot of time in nature personally. I've kind of gone off track to the question, I think. But anyway, that's what was in my head. I spent a lot of time in nature. Like this morning, I literally got to my kid's school. I ripped my jumper off and took my shoes off and went and walked on the grass, because my morning has not gone to plan, right? I've gone and dropped my kids at school. I've gone and had a conversation with someone, jumped in my car to go back to home, and my brand new car won't start. And I'm like, okay, what can I do here? So there's a church. So I went and sat, prayed for 10 minutes, got out here, ripped my shoes off, and just walked and grounded myself in nature while we're having this conversation, right? Because changing our state, I think I don't know. I have two thoughts around this. Like, there's a huge drive from the Wim Hofs and whatnot around the world around you should be putting yourself in extreme states of discomfort each day with cold showers, et cetera, et cetera. My view on that is, yeah, that's great if you're in a state of discomfort to be able to go, okay, I'm in this state, I need to shift from that. So for me, I'll go to the beach and cold dip in the ocean. I'll do the raw under the water, et cetera, to let go of the excess, like release the energy that I'm holding, rather than raging at my kids or my wife or the guy who's come to change my battery in my car. I let it go somewhere else that's safe, right? Like, that's how I kind of shift in nature. And I guess I try to really, on our men's group last night, I talked about, when my son gets on technology in the morning, like, it's hard to maintain a balance between, if he's got everything ready, I go, if everything's done, then he can go on technology, right? But it still results in him being angry when I tell him to get off the technology to come to school. And his response is, when I ask him to get off, his response is, "You're angry, Dad." And that makes me angry, right? Because I'm not angry, so it makes me angry, which is like ridiculous. But I'll continue with the story because it's about communication. So I end up in this state of anger, and I get in the car. I'm like, "You're so disrespectful," but that's my father, right? Like, I'm just living my father's journey there, not my own journey. So the other day, like, this is last Thursday, I'm deep in a hole already, and then I've got him not getting off his iPad, and he's telling me I'm angry. So I'm like, the minute I hear that word, "You're angry," I'm not angry. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. It is humorous. I get it. So we're in the car, and then I'm like, and I'm doing this thing where I'm just going, do you know how ridiculous it is that you're calling me angry when we both know it's you that angry? Like, but I'm quite angry doing it. And then I'm just like, you know what? What am I doing here? Like, because I'm being, obviously Joe Dispenza talks about patterns, right? So I recognize the pattern. And then I go, you know what? You know what I feel like right now? I feel like I'm Drago from, I don't know if you watched How to Train Your Dragons. There's a character, Drago, who like controls all the dragons with anger. So I start just swinging my arm around my head, going, "Roar, roar," like just screaming, and my kids are laughing, and I'm going, that's how I feel right now. Like, and then I'm like, let's talk about what happened this morning. And I use the term always, right? Which is not cool. And he goes, I'm not always angry. I said, okay, let's bring it to the present moment. This morning when I asked you to get off your iPad, were you happy or were you angry? He goes, no, I was angry. I go, okay. So when you're angry, instead of just feeling that and saying, hey, Dad, I'm angry, you scream at me that I'm angry because you're angry. Is that what happened? He's like, yeah, that's what happened. So now I've been having conversations around the characters of dragons. Okay, Blake, like, who are you today? Are you Hiccup or are you Drago? He's like, oh, no, I'm somewhere in the middle, Dad. You know, I go, so we're kind of stoic today, you know, stoic's the father. So we've been able to shift from having a conversation that's stuck in emotion and feeling to being thoughtful and being relative to them so they can kind of communicate their emotions. I guess that's been my massive breakthrough one of my breakthroughs in the last week. But I guess we're talking about communication. So I really just wanted to share, I don't know how I got from nature to there, but that's where we're at. We're talking about shifting states. So if we end up using ice baths to shift our states all the time, that's fine, right? We go into an ice bath and we feel under tension and we have to like sit in it and learn how to be with it. But if we can't take that experience into our day-to-day life, then what is the point? If we need to do that every day for 365 days a year, are we really learning anything from the experience of putting ourselves under tension?
I think particularly the cold shower analogy or any of that, it's not just about changing state. For me, it's about in the morning, if I can do that, I can tackle anything in my day. Because having a cold shower in the middle of winter, you know, like whatever else you have to tackle in the day doesn't seem quite so hard. And it's also a health thing as well, because the last 2 years that I've been doing it, it's my health has been way better because of that. Obviously it does, you know, change your state, but for me it's not so much. I don't jump in a shower when I'm, you know, in a bad mood or wanting to change my state. I will go out in nature. I will go jump on the mini tramp, or I'll just, you know, disappear for a while. So yeah, I think there's more. For me, it's not just about changing state. It's about being able to say, I have accomplished that today. It's like making the bed or whatever you do to start your day. That's just my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, 100%. But you're actually using it for you're actually taking that into your day, right? Like, I guess that's what I'm saying. I guess there's a time and place. Like I do cold therapy as well. I do hot and cold, et cetera, et cetera. But I do it for different reasons, not for changing my state necessarily. I do it for the health benefits that you're talking about. But I guess I see a lot of coaches out there spruiking about it being for a change of state rather than a preparation for your day. Like if people reframed it, hey, how can you improve your day by implementing this, et cetera, ABC, but often that's not how it's portrayed in the certainly in some of the men's health world. So I guess that's my own lens, right? I'm just sharing my own lens from how I'm observing it in the world, but they're really valid points. So thanks for bringing that up.
Just a thought about your kids. When my boys were little, I tried that if you get everything done, then you can, you know, watch some telly. And we eventually got back to, there was just no telly, or there was no iPads back then because of that situation. And it was actually much happier. Yeah, they would go out and do something, or they'd play for half an hour, or they'd have to build, or yeah, and it didn't matter how well organized they were, they would always get there, and then the same thing would happen. They would be, oh, I've only had 5 minutes, and then there would be the discussion around how, well, perhaps if you've been a bit more organized, you would have had half an hour. And in our family, it just got to the point where it was like, we don't have TV in the morning, and they got used to that, and they loved it, and it meant that the morning was slower, and then they were ready. And yeah, you just got to find what works for you and your family.
Yeah, 100%. We kind of go through stages of no TV, no iPads, and then they creep back in, and then you go through a whole reset, and it's just it's just a fine balancing act, because it's like, oh, I've got my PM reader, you know, so they get their PM reader, they do their reading, and then that rolls into I'm on Minecraft or Roblox or whatever it is, right? Because you're busy doing whatever it is you're doing. So it's just yeah, it's just trying to strike a balance. I try to empower my kids to make their own good choices. Sometimes they're not capable of that, and sometimes they are. So it's it's just finding a balance, I guess.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I'd just like to add that the key point out of all that, I think that was a great share. Thank you for that. Key point is that really we all have the main thing is to recognize when you need to change state, first of all. When you realize you're stuck in a grump or an angry mood or something, and then to have a strategy that works for you. And so everyone's got different strategies that will work for them. And then you just apply those rituals. It's really about forming rituals, having something that you connect with, that you're kind of anchored to, that is then going to enable you to move forwards.
Yeah, it can be hard to know that you're in that state when you're in it sometimes.
Yeah, but like you said, there's a comical element to it as well. You actually can, if you sort of disassociate, you can see yourself getting angry and you're doing it, and then it just becomes ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to be able to step back and see it as being ridiculous is kind of that awakening to that first step to go, hold on, what am I doing here? And I love that there was a line you said earlier on was, what's the story that I'm telling myself here? I was just reading Brene Brown's book recently, Rising Strong. And she gives a great example about that, where she's swimming across the lake with her husband. And, that she finds herself getting angrier and angrier. And then she realizes she's the one who's telling herself the story and winding herself up. And when you do that, you can then sort of step back and just go, whoa, hold on. It's like, I was also reading Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. And he talks about that sort of the inner eye, if you like, that third self, where you actually become the observer of yourself and realize that even the thoughts that you're telling yourself are coming from somewhere else. They're coming from the ego. And you can actually step back and look at that and go, just stop doing that, and replace it with something that's going to be positive and empowering. And it's practice. The more you do it, the more you become back into the now, and you become aware of what's going on, and you can actually start to change it.
Yeah, it's super powerful. I guess the first moment I had of this was I had a group of teenage boys. I guess there was 20 kids in the room, and I asked them the question, "Do you like yourself, or do you love yourself?" To teenage boys, and they got the giggles, right? And I'm like, so I'm doing all the techniques. I'm laying them down. I'm like, all right, let's do some breath work. Really going deep with these kids, and they're just laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And I'm like, all right, everyone sit up. And I just started laughing. So instead of trying to force it, I just shifted into the energy that was in the room. And then once the energy dissipated, one of the kids was able to say, like, I love myself, and why? And then the room dropped in, right? So it's not about, I guess it's not about forcing it, but I've really struggled. I've really struggled to be able to step out of the ego and observe myself. Like, it's just I'm just really practicing it a lot. But I find, I guess if I'm really honest, I really struggle to do that in my closest relationships with my wife and my children. Like, that's my biggest struggle, is I just get caught in that. But it's just familiarity, right? It's just programming, like years and years of programming story. Like my wife said to me the other day, like, you're the only person who thinks the world's out to get you, Corey. She's like, you overanalyze everything, and I do. Like, Martin will testimony to this, that I overanalyze everything and go deep way too much too often. So it's about doing less of that, right? It's just about stepping back and observing the story rather than analyzing it, stepping into my heart, looking back from my heart space rather than my mind space, and wrapping a story around putting a lens on, going, she's an asshole, or I'm not worthy, or whatever the story is that we attach to whatever it is that we're going through. Which is why these
Brene
spaces
Brown said that underneath just about everything is that sentiment of I'm not worthy. When you are struggling with something, if you dig deeper into it, there is usually something there within yourself that you're trying to resolve. And the bottom line is a kind of a statement that you're not worthy in some way.
Yeah. The lesson will keep showing up until it's learned, right?
Yeah, but it sounds like don't be so hard on yourself, because you're doing a fantastic job of being self-aware, and you're fighting a lifetime of programming.
Yeah, and I'm not really being hard on myself at the moment. I've had a rough week because so this past week I wasn't going to talk about this, but here we are. In the past week, I've been in this state. I organised a 40th birthday for my wife, a surprise birthday. And then when she found out about it, her response was, "I don't want that." And for me, I was like, how dare you tell me you don't want a birthday party, right?
Right.
So, and then I spoke to a friend, and he's like, I was so pissed off about it. Like, I was just really, but then when I started unpacking it, right, is like the rejection from a week before my year 10 formal. The girl that I was taking pulled out on me. The next two girls that I asked said no. Like, that's one story. There's a rejection. There's like just so many layers of rejection, and that's the story that was coming up there, right? I'm just getting rejected again. I'm doing my best, and it's not enough. Like, that's the story, right? That I was telling myself, and then I was in the story, and like buried in it deep. And it took me a while just to like step back, go to the beach, sit with myself, and really go, okay, what is really happening here? What does my wife really want? And how can I be of service to her for her 40th birthday and give her what she wants rather than what I want?
Can I just say that's a fantastic realization that you've come to that yourself. I mean, most people would have to probably go to a psych or something to come to those kind of self-aware realizations.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on a lot of psychologists and a lot of coaches. Not that I'm undermining what I've done. I absolutely have a bunch of tools where I can start asking questions, and I have a good network of friends where I can lean on and have, where they don't tell me how it is, but they ask curious questions. I like to surround myself with people who ask curious questions. I think it's a really powerful way to grow, which is why I show up here so authentically, because if I don't, what's the point in doing this is kind of my theory behind it. You know, I get to listen to you, Tony, and I'm like, man, I can learn a lot from him. Like, I hear you, I go, man, this guy's like, he's connected to his higher being, and there's an enormous amount of knowledge there for me to tap into.
Thank you for that. It's called the University of Life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I certainly can back that up, because I mean, we're all life coaches if we're going to put a label on it in our own right, based on experience in life. But as you said there, around, it's the questions that are asked really that bring out the information. And Tony was actually the first person I ever met who I had actually sat down from a coach perspective and built a friendship and helped me really get started and it wasn't long after I came out of the mental hospital. So I have a lot of gratitude towards Tony and his partner Joe for helping me move forward and really find my own path. Like you said there, Tony, the level of awareness that Corey was talking about was the key thing there. And that, I love how you broke it back and went back as well, Corey, and were able to put it back to all the situations in your life that have just helped bring it to this place with your wife. But isn't it amazing? The whole topic today was around decisions and stuff, and the decisions that we've made. But I find, listening to a few of the conversations that have been shared today, the teachers that are around us constantly, our family, our friends, people on this call right now, but those who are helping us look back at ourselves and see ourselves. And I know when you mentioned before about laughing about things, Tony, I remember listening to Jim Rohn a few years back when he was saying the sun rises on the east and sets on the west, and there's nothing you can do about that. And I always remember that when I'm driving my car and someone cuts across or somebody does something that in that moment is an idiotic behavior, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And all of a sudden I have Jim pop up and he goes, the sun rises on the east and it sets on the west, and there's nothing you can do about that. I just start laughing. But the first reaction was of frustration, and I was just listening to Jim earlier on, whilst I was having a fresh shave, and he was talking all around he was talking all about, crikey, I can't believe, I think this one's run away from me as well. But it was really about letting go and just knowing that everything always works out. Everything always just works out the way it's supposed to. And there's a lesson in the result that you want, and there's a lesson in the result that you didn't want. And then take that, and what are you going to do with it? And that's that decision then. And it goes back to, as well, I was listening to Outwitting the Devil, chapter 6 this morning. And listening to how the devil was talking about that level of fear that we have, and how it controls us, and we make decisions based on that. And then all of a sudden we're in a place where the hell am I? Didn't want to be here. And it's that, but it's that fact, like, even when we go around to the ego, and you know, I've spoken a lot over that over the years, and I know it's certainly controlled me a lot of the time, but it still has an element of good to help us get motivated. So it's not total negative ego, because everything's got to have the law of polarity. But I just found listening to what you were sharing then, in particular, Corey, fascinating with regards to the growth that you're having just from those people around you. And it is usually the family that trigger us the most. I know we've had some conversations, Carolyn and myself, around this. But they're our greatest teachers as well, and there's a reason why they're in our lives. So.
Just on that point, Martin, and just from what Corey said as well, is that quite often, you know, it's so easy to be kind to the guy down the road or the friend or whatever when you're only spending such a short period of time with them. But when you live with somebody every single day, there's an element of, you know, a bit of sandpaper every now and again. And I find so often that we tend to pick up the other person's mood, and we make a judgment in our head about, oh, they're in a bad mood. But at the same time, what's my state and how is that impacting their state? So becoming more aware of that. And I just thought it was brilliant today, people talking about the discussions that they have in their head. And so often I'll have a discussion in my head with my husband. He knows nothing about it. And I'm going, and it's so true. And we tell our stories and you get into that loop in your head, you know, however it is, I'm not enough, I should have done that, or whatever the case may be. But I think the closest relationship we have, they're the ones that actually help us grow the most, because when we learn to let go, and the thing I've learned most about, you know, those close relationships is that if I don't love that person unconditionally and allow them to be who they need to be, whatever that is not my job to change them. My job is to be the best version of who I am. And most of the time, you know, I can do that, but there are times when I'm like, oh, I just want that to change. And that's when I get into my ego state. And that's one thing, you know, as 54-year-old, that I've learned that if I can't love those people unconditionally in my life, it's not my job to change them, and they need to be on their journey, and I need to love them for where they're going.
Excellent.
Awesome share, Carolyn. Awesome share. I'm conscious of we've just come to the hour mark, and as I mentioned earlier on at the beginning of the call, I know that you just jumped. You had a bit of a technical issue there, Tony. That we leverage the Noble Goldman platform, which is all around bringing conscious entrepreneurs, people who value personal growth, who want to experience a better life in whatever area that may be. Maybe just connection, relationships, just being on a call like this. Maybe it's then stepping up into more deeper diving into personal growth work, or maybe even looking at increasing opportunities around income earning situations like that. So the focus of it is to help everybody, no matter where they're at. And I'm super grateful, because when it came into my life, I was like, no, I'm not interested. But at the same time, I love connection with like-minded people. I love challenging myself and growing. So I'm actually just going to give a brief overview with you all now to just help you learn a bit more, because if you do value personal growth, if you do value connection, I really feel you're going to get a lot of value from learning and even joining as a free member into the community. So just give me a thumbs up, Tony, because you're the only one I can see, if you can see the screen. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, buddy. So when we hear Noble Goldman, it sounds like it's actually a lawyer firm, and it's far from it. So a noble, when we break it down, is having or showing fine personal qualities or high moral principles. And then Goldman is actually a person who is looked upon as a role model. Now, I'm confident to say that each of the people that have been on this mastermind today have shown all of that. And each of us have those abilities, but just imagine stepping into a community of people who are showing fine personal qualities and have high moral principles, as well as have people who look upon them as role models to help each other grow. And then as a foundation, and everything's built on a foundation, as a foundation, it's built on the golden rule of do unto others as you would have done to you. So we're now talking about that level of consciousness, that level of support. Now, for things to work, especially systems in the world, they rely on qualities, and 3 in particular. They need to be simple to learn. So you need to be able to step into this and learn it with simplicity. They need to be simple to use so you don't get frustrated and throw your smartphone or your laptop across the room. Simple to flow through, which helps you succeed in whatever that may be for your own desired success. So with the people that are being helped, when we think around the freedom creators, and we've got a young couple here on the scooter, thumb up in the fist up in the air, we're looking there at the people who, in all fairness, it's more around Gen Y. And I'm not saying it's nobody else, but Gen Y, they don't want to work 40 hours a week for 40 years. They want to be free. They want to have a Wi-Fi connection. They want to travel. And a lot more people are opening up to this. We've got the parents and the families, as we've just had there, around deep conversation around the conversation in the home, building those relationships stronger, allowing each other to grow and work together and actually have a better life together. Coaches and mentors, imagine being surrounded by a group of people or a community of people that are packed with coaches and mentors, sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, their value, helping to empower, because all coaches and mentors in particular have heavily invested in themselves with time and money to learn, to grow, to go and help more people around the world. So they love being in the community. You've got network marketers who they want to help people in any way that they can with their products, their services, whatever it might be. But they need to be able to build teams and understand how to grow and communicate and build those relationships and not treat everybody as a number. So this is what we teach, as well as for other business owners and many other examples of people who benefit. So when I looked at Noble Goldman as a whole, because there's so many cogs to the system, I just broke it down for simplicity into 3 rooms of value. So let's imagine this is you here with a big smile on your face. It looks more like me, I get that. But you've got room 1, which is free member. Your success foundation. We want to focus as a free member. Everybody gets to come in and start by building the foundation of success. Gold Star member, this is where you actually step up into a paid membership. It's only $4 a week. It's super cheap. Your personal growth. We start dive into some of the top mentors like Bob Proctor, Joe Dispenza, so on. They're teaching in there. There's other people in here with other coaches. You know, Tony's a coach. You've got all this value and knowledge and life experience shared, as well as those people, as I said, who want to create this into an income earning opportunity. They can do. It's all there. You can choose to go in any room at any time that you like. So when I break down room 1 as a quick overview, your abundance alignment tool, one of the most important things here is to build your success habits by goal setting, visualization, affirmation, study, and productivity. Now we have a system here that we're able to put all those details in and track it, and we're allowed to visually see where we're winning, where we maybe need to work on and put some more time and effort into. So that's a great way to keep you on track. Gratitude journal. Gratitude is associated with greater happiness and helps people build stronger relationships. As a male egotistical flippant view, I was like, I ain't doing gratitude. Do you know what? It's changed the course of my life, who I am, and the value that I provide out there to everybody else. 7-step Mastermind manifesto, which is achieve your primary life purpose using the mastermind principles within our mastermind community. Now, anybody who values personal growth will understand the power of a mastermind if they've read the book Think and Grow Rich. In chapter 10, Napoleon talks in depth about the power of a mastermind and with what's been shared today on our call. Naturally, you've got mastermind access with what we're covering now, the coordination of knowledge and effort between 2 or more people who work towards a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony, was what Napoleon Hill shared. So this is the overview, and there's far more, but this is an overview of room 1 for everybody who's free. Come on in, check it out. Then we'd start looking at turning Noble Goldman into a personal growth asset, because I believe it was Warren Buffett said the most important, the best investment you can make is within yourself. So straight away, there's a 90-day success program that you can access, because on average, it takes around about 90 days to really solidify a habit so you are achieving the life that you want to achieve and moving in that direction. So it's specifically structured to ensure you are laying the foundation for a lifetime of happiness, joy, and abundance by learning and applying the habits of success. Personal growth video education, as I mentioned earlier, learn from world-class coaches and mentors through over 50 unique videos, which are structured to help you step into a higher version of yourself and become successful. Now, these aren't just any videos thrown in, they are specifically designed and in an order to help you grow and move forward, no matter what your level of growth has been. The cash flow program, which sounds like it's all about money, it's not. It's actually all around leadership training, team building, social media advertising, any topic of that's going to help people grow. You're able to leverage the value shared from other Noble Goldman Gold Star members in cash flow. So when we start looking at this, Carolyn mentioned earlier, she deals with raw treats and helps people with the nutrition and basically enjoying making things in the kitchen. She can put stuff in there. Tony's a business coach, a life coach. He can add his value into there. So what we're doing is we're empowering everybody as a community, as a community to grow. We've got the Gold Star Leadership Masterminds. We've got one happening very soon in about the next 20 minutes. These are deeper diving masterminds for those people who really want to dive deep into some personal growth, maybe want to bring up certain challenges around their life, or maybe possibly more so business owners who are looking to connect with other business owners as well as mastermind their business. So masterminds discussing any challenges in life, business, and how we can effectively support our team members to help more people achieve their desires. So that's an overview of room 2, all around the personal growth. So as I said before, there's people who do want to earn money. Anybody who's got a negative attachment to money, that's something straight away that I'm going to say to work on. I had to work on that because I had a negative attachment to money. I wasn't even aware of it. So turn your Noble Goldman account into an income opportunity asset. So once you're a paid member, you get an affiliate link. You're able to share your Noble Goldman, what we call secret key, with your connections, and when they choose to join the Gold Star membership, you earn 50% commission on each membership payment. It isn't massive amounts of money, but it just helps people wherever they're at right now. And also think of it, you're giving somebody the golden ticket to come into the community that may just positively impact their lives and help them go and achieve what they want to achieve. I know that it's been an incredible decision for myself. Now, when we mentioned cash flow earlier on, remember, everybody's learning and growing. There's also an affiliate system in this that can be activated if you choose to. You don't have to, but you can choose to. Through your Noble Goldman team members choosing to subscribe to cash flow, you can earn up to 75% commission over 3 levels for the subscriptions. There's another income stream. So remember, MSIs are multiple streams of income. Bob Proctor talks about it. Richard Branson's got over 400 companies, over 400 paychecks every month. Think of it like that. Success leaves clues. Pay it forward system. Now, thanks to the pay it forward strategy, you'll build your team fast and earn easily as your team members forward their first 2 Gold Star members to you. Because Noble Goldman is built on the law of giving and receiving, if you're not willing to give, you are never going to receive. That's the way that it's built. So we're activating the universal laws. Some people get it, some people don't, and that's perfectly fine. But I know that this model has worked for me in my life outside of Noble Goldman and works extremely powerfully within. Work smarter by creating multiple streams of income without needing to work harder. Now, that a lot of people won't get that. I was brought up, you've got to work harder, you've got to put longer hours in to earn more, to succeed more. No, that is not the way. Plus, add your own product services to the platform to grow your business. So if you do have a product or service, maybe, like I mentioned, Carolyn and Tony, maybe they've got their own programs, they can put them in the system, people can choose to purchase them. It helps their business grow, but it helps them help more people. If it's an MLM company and it's not in the system, it can be put on the system. Those people who choose to partner with it, they can choose to partner with it. So this helps there from an income producing side of it as an overview. There is so much more value for you to experience. And I do encourage you, if you're not a free member, to jump on and get in there and start activating the abundance alignment tool, start building those foundation success habits. And if you are a free member, maybe it is time to step up to Gold Star. Maybe you do want to experience more value. It was the first thing that I did, and I would highly recommend it. And when we look at other members, we've got Lisa, who's she has a Lissy coaching and she's a Bob Proctor consultant. This really is the platform I need without knowing I needed it. Everything I need is right here with all the support I could want. I'm so grateful to be a part of this wonderful family of disruptors who are changing the world by paying it forward. How does it get any better than this? We've got Natali Anderson, who's a life and business coach. Get into a mastermind with like-minded people expedites my growth. Continuing to learn ways to earn wealth and help people helps me to move forward on my purpose in life. Noble Goldman gives me an area to grow and to grow others. Nancy Ann Key is the founder of The Giving Woman. It's really quite addictive, to be honest. I know that Noble Goldman is a landing place for me to call home, where I will be seen, heard, and appreciated for who I am every time I attend a mastermind. And Lloyd, who's an author, speaker, and network marketer, I paid the $200 without hesitation for 3 reasons. That's the annual membership price. It's allowed me to leverage the membership as an asset while building a team on the platform with the 50% affiliate commissions available. I solved all of my challenges with developing solid lasting relationships and maintaining the focus and attention of a large organization on a personal development, goal tracking, and accountability. Because Noble Goldman is a tool and not another thing to distract me, here I could truly build Me Incorporated and develop multiple streams of income and impact through just one team. True leverage. So as I mentioned, membership's free for everybody. And then if you do want to upgrade to Gold Star, it's either $60 per quarter or $200 for the whole year. That's the price of the membership. So it is less than $4 a week if you want to experience the value of it. And it's this simple. Whoever referred you, you can't access Noble Goldman without somebody referring you. It's a pay it forward system. Get there in registration key, which is called the secret key. Come and register, be a part of the community, and learn and grow together. So one of the big things that we make sure we do is we always share our 3 big takeaways into the Your Desired Success community. So we drop in there. It helps us go back over what we've experienced, part of that, as well as helping other people see the value of the mastermind to hopefully empower them to make that decision to jump on. So I just want to thank you, Tony, Carolyn, Maya, and I know Corey had to go because he had someone to come and fix his car. But jumping on, is there anything you guys want to cover, want to ask questions, or wrap up with feedback before we go?
I thought it was a great session, Martin. I was very impressed with the awareness of all the participants and the genuine desire to learn and to share experiences.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. That's always been the intention.
Yeah, I co-sign that.
Yeah, it's awesome, and thank each and every one of you for sharing, because if it had just been me here, it would be a bit lonely. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon. We do have another mastermind tomorrow night on a different topic at 5:30 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time. So I run 2 each week. But yeah, I look forward to connecting whenever you're available, and have yourselves a tremendous day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.